45 ACP isn't a legacy caliber in 2026, it's a selective one. People don't choose it because it's trendy. And they don't choose it because it's easy. They choose it because they want control, confidence, and a platform that still makes sense when the noise dies down. But here's the reality. The way 45 ACP is used today looks very different from how it was used 10 or 15 years ago. Modern shooters expect optics-ready slides, better recoil management, and platforms that fit real-world roles, home defense, duty use, concealed carry, or carbine setups. If a 45 ACP gun can't adapt to that, it doesn't belong in a 2026 conversation. That's why this list is focused, not nostalgic. These aren't historical icons or collector pieces. Every firearm here is still being sold, still being trained with, and still being chosen for practical reasons in today's market. Some lean tactical, some lean defensive. Some push the cartridge into new platforms entirely. But all of them reflect how 45 ACP actually exists in 2026, not how people remember it. This is the top 10 best 45 ACP guns in 2026, judged by relevance, not reputation. Let's get into it. The Colt Defender SS appears on this list as a compact 45 ACP platform that continues to fill a specific everyday carry niche. Its relevance in 2026 is not tied to modern features, but to form factor and shooting characteristics that some users still prioritize. The shortened 1911 format offers a slim grip profile and a consistent single-action trigger, which many shooters find easier to manage under recoil compared to lightweight polymer frames. This design does come with trade-offs. Magazine capacity is limited, and there is no factory optics support, which keeps it from ranking higher. However, continued production, strong aftermarket support, and familiarity with the 1911 Manual of Arms keep the Defender viable for users already invested in the platform. Its placement reflects practicality within a narrow role, rather than broad adaptability across modern use cases. Another factor keeping the Defender relevant is maintenance familiarity. The 1911 platform remains one of the most well-understood handgun designs in the U.S. market, with widespread armorer knowledge and readily available replacement parts. For long-term ownership, that familiarity still influences buying decisions more than feature lists alone. The Springfield Armory XDS Mod 2 EOSP represents how 45 ACP has been adapted to fit modern concealed carry expectations, slim dimensions, striker-fired operation, and a factory optics-ready slide place it closer to current carry standards than older compact 45 designs. In 2026, red dot compatibility has become common even on single-stack pistols, and this platform reflects that shift. Recoil management remains the primary challenge at this size, and capacity is inherently limited. Those factors prevent it from competing with larger duty pistols. However, compared to earlier subcompact 45 ACP options, improvements in grip texture, trigger consistency, and sighting options make the platform more practical for regular carry. Its ranking reflects adaptation rather than innovation, showing how the caliber continues to exist within a carry-focused segment. The Smith & Wesson M&P45 M2.0 core fits squarely into the modern duty pistol category. The core optic system, updated grip texture, and striker-fired trigger align with current training and defensive standards. Unlike legacy designs retrofitted for optics, this platform integrates red dot support as part of its intended configuration. Recoil control benefits from grip geometry and overall frame mass, making extended training more manageable compared to lighter alternatives. This becomes increasingly important as training volumes rise. Many shooters now spend more time running optics-equipped pistols at the range, where consistency and fatigue management matter more than raw concealability. In that context, full-size duty pistols regain relevance despite broader carry trends. While the M&P does not introduce new operating concepts, it remains current through consistent factory support, widespread accessory availability, and institutional familiarity. Its position reflects reliability and compatibility rather than innovation, placing it above compact carry pistols but below more specialized or forward-leaning platforms. The SIG Sauer P220 Legion occupies a narrower segment in 2026, but one that still exists as a premium DASA 45 ACP pistol. It serves users who deliberately choose double-action operation over striker-fired systems. Legion-specific enhancements, including upgraded controls, refined trigger components, and improved ergonomics help keep the platform relevant without altering its core design. Capacity limitations and the absence of factory optic support prevent it from ranking alongside more modular pistols. However, continued production, factory backing, and long-term parts availability distinguish it from older DASA designs that have been discontinued. The P220 Legion remains viable for shooters who value trigger discipline, decocking systems, and traditional operating methods. Its placement reflects specialization rather than general appeal, acknowledging that while this segment is smaller, it has not disappeared. The Glock G21 Gen 5 MOS continues to hold its position because it matches what full-size 45 ACP pistols are expected to offer at this point. Optics-ready capability through the MOS system is no longer a premium feature. It's a baseline requirement, and the G21 meets that expectation without redesigning the platform. What keeps it competitive today isn't innovation, but infrastructure. Magazines, holsters, replacement parts, and training support already exist at scale, which matters more now than it did years ago. As shooters build pistols around red dots and standardized accessories, compatibility becomes just as important as raw performance. Compared to newer or more specialized designs, the G21 lacks factory suppressor tuning and premium finishing. However, its consistency across setups and long-term support still make it a reference platform. Its placement reflects how modern relevance can come from meeting current standards reliably, rather than chasing features that only appeal on paper. At this stage of the list, the separation isn't about quality anymore. It's about intent. Up to this point, the platforms we've covered work because they fit within established roles. They're familiar, predictable, and easy to integrate into existing training habits. What comes next reflects a different mindset. Here, manufacturers stop asking how to make 45 ACP fit old categories and start deciding what the cartridge should be optimized for. That shift shows up in design priorities: capacity over compactness, control over concealment, and complete systems over incremental upgrades. These choices aren't about appealing to everyone. They're about serving users who already know how they plan to run their gear. From here on, ranking becomes less about compromise and more about direction. The remaining entries don't just function well. They represent clearer answers to where 45 ACP fits in today's landscape and where it doesn't. Some pistols feel modern because they can be upgraded. The FNX-45 Tactical feels modern because those upgrades are already built in. Optics-ready slide cuts, suppressor height sights, threaded barrel support, and higher magazine capacity form a single, cohesive setup rather than a list of optional add-ons. That integration changes how the platform is evaluated. Instead of asking what needs to be replaced or modified, the focus shifts to how everything works together. Size and weight place it outside the concealed carry conversation. But that limitation aligns with its intended use. As a duty or home defense handgun, the FNX-45 Tactical avoids the compromises often associated with retrofitted designs. Its placement reflects how completeness can matter more than refinement alone. Not every meaningful update comes from a new platform. The XDM Elite 45 OSP shows how incremental changes can reshape an existing design. Capacity increases, trigger refinements, and optic-specific slide cuts address practical concerns that surrounded earlier striker-fired 45 ACP pistols. None of these changes are dramatic on their own, but together they alter how the gun performs in regular use. The Elite line does not attempt to compete with suppressor-focused or carbine platforms. Instead, it strengthens the traditional full-size handgun role by tightening up areas that previously felt outdated. Handling remains familiar, but feedback from shooters is reflected in the details. Its ranking recognizes that relevance doesn't always come from radical redesigns. Sometimes it comes from fixing the right things without breaking what already works. At this point in the list, the conversation shifts away from handguns entirely. The CMMG MKG earns its position by applying 45 ACP in a way that aligns with how many shooters approach defensive setups today. Instead of prioritizing concealability or duty holster compatibility, this platform emphasizes control, stability, and accuracy through a pistol-caliber carbine format. The radial delayed blowback system plays a key role here. Compared to traditional straight blowback PCCs, it softens recoil impulse and reduces bolt mass, which becomes noticeable during extended shooting sessions. Paired with a shoulder-fired platform, The cartridge behaves very differently in practical use. Follow-up shots are easier to manage. Optics remain more stable. And accessory integration becomes more straightforward. This shift also lowers the barrier for users who find larger handgun calibers harder to control. Increased stability allows more focus on fundamentals rather than recoil management. The MKG's placement near the top reflects a broader trend in civilian home defense and training environments, where relevance comes from changing the platform, not just refining the pistol. The Ruger LC Carbine takes the top spot because it reflects the clearest shift in how 45 ACP is being approached today. Instead of pushing the cartridge further inside the limits of handguns, this platform moves it into a role where its strengths become more relevant again. A lightweight, non-AR carbine format changes the priorities completely. Control, stability, and ease of shooting matter more than concealment or draw speed. In that environment, 45 ACP behaves differently. Recoil becomes easier to manage. Follow-up shots are more consistent. And extended training sessions become less demanding. Those factors directly address the challenges that often push shooters away from larger handgun calibers. What makes the LC Carbine stand out is not technical novelty, but positioning. It targets civilian users who want a modern defensive platform without committing to AR ergonomics or rifle calibers. Optics support, manageable size, and simplified handling place it squarely within current market preferences. At the top of this list, best is no longer about the most complete pistol. It's about which platform makes the strongest case for 45 ACP going forward. By changing how the cartridge is applied, rather than forcing it to compete inside shrinking handgun constraints, the Ruger LC Carbine represents the most forward-looking and realistic fit for 45 ACP right now. This list shows that 45 ACP hasn't been left behind. It has been refined and repositioned. Platforms that continue to matter are the ones that fit modern setups, current training habits, and realistic use cases, rather than relying on history alone. Some of these guns remain relevant through adaptation. Others stand out because they were designed with today's expectations from the start, and a few shift the cartridge into roles that didn't exist for it a decade ago. That range is exactly why 45 ACP still has a place in the conversation. As always, the best choice depends on how you plan to use it. Carry, duty use, home defense, or carbine platforms all lead to different answers. Now it's your turn. Which one would you pick? And which ranking do you disagree with the most?